Welcome to Brandventures, the podcast that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo, and I'm going to take you guys on a journey with me to discover new brands that are making a difference in today's market. Join me as we dive into the minds of fearless entrepreneurs behind the brands, discover the secret to their success and how they turn their passion into a profitable business. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an exciting adventure into the world of brand innovation on the Brandventures Podcast. GP5 Productions for adventurous brands. Hey guys, welcome to the Brandventures, the podcast that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo, and today we're joined by Barrett Johnson, a man whose mantra is saying yes to life's opportunities. From driving from Georgia to Alaska for adventure, to funding a luxury sauna design company, Barrett's story is a roller coaster of risk and reward. He's been a sea kayak guide, a ski patroller, an entrepreneur who believes deeply in human connection. Prepare to be inspired as we delve into how saying yes can change your life and shape your brand. You won't want to miss this. Welcome to the Brandventures, Barrett.
Thanks, Gus. Love being here.
So tell me a little bit about you. You're from Atlanta, Georgia, is that correct?
Yeah, so I was born in Atlanta, and I guess we can skip to college. I mean, you know, the typical upbringing, right? Georgia's kind of boring if you're looking for adventure. So after college, I graduated and didn't really feel pulled to start the typical career path like a lot of my friends were. They were off to be accountants and, you know, all these aspiring careers. And I had this idea to go try something crazy and different. And my parents gave me the blessing to go to Alaska. And so I drove from Georgia to Alaska just looking for something. I was supposed to transfer with Home Depot to kind of give my mom a little peace of mind, you know, knowing that I was going to a job of some sort. But when I got there and had my interview with HR and I walked out of the store and saw the mountains and how beautiful it was, I thought to myself, I could work in a Home Depot anywhere in the world or in Georgia. Why would I work at a Home Depot in Alaska? So I told them that I would be back in a couple of weeks after I went south to the coast to take some pictures and do some exploring, and went down there and life started unfolding there and never went back to Home Depot, but life kind of started from there, saying yes to opportunities.
Nice. It's been quite an adventure. You have a very interesting background. But I want to ask you, what really inspired you to start building Wandering Saunas?
Yeah, well, you know, from that point to fast forward to 2020, I was in Duluth, Minnesota, visiting some friends of mine. And I saw an outdoor sauna that was rented by some of their friends that they had for the weekend. It was January 2nd, so it was snowing. There was snow on the ground, and people were rolling around in the snow, throwing snowballs at each other, laughing, having a great time. And then stepping into this trailer with smoke coming out of the chimney and a giant window, and they were having a great time. And I was really curious. So really what started this whole thing was curiosity. I didn't know much about saunas. I knew quite a bit about construction, and the construction that I had done was a lot of high-end luxury and things like that. So when I got into the sauna and I looked around and I thought, I could build something like this, and Bozeman doesn't have anything like this, and all of us need more human connection. And I was aware of the health benefits of sauna and cold plunge and all that, but it hadn't really taken off like it has in the last 3 years. So I recognized an opportunity, like a deficiency in the economy here in Bozeman. We've got so many affluent people that live just south of us. So I knew that there was demand for it, but I knew I was ahead of the curve. So I was preparing myself with my then girlfriend at the time. I was preparing us for a long play here because I knew that there were a lot of people that didn't know what sauna was, why they needed it, or where to get it. And Wandering Sauna was going to be the solution for that, but it was going to take a little bit of time to prep people, to educate them, to give them some information, and then let them get curious, seek us, and then we could fill that void. So,
tell me a little bit about the benefits of doing saunas and doing cold plunging.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've been doing this thermal culture. This idea has been around for eons. I mean, humans have been doing it whether they've wanted to or not. And if it's just survival, they have to bear the elements, which really makes them stronger. But a lot of people are exercising and they want to look stronger and look healthier. But what's beneath all of that is your cardiovascular system. If you don't have a healthy cardiovascular system, then all the muscles in the world aren't going to save you. So what people are realizing now, because of all the sickness and Alzheimer's and dementia, but also cardiovascular disease and arteriosclerosis, all of that, the way that the blood vessels dilate and contract with hot and cold, trying to survive, and the body's trying to equalize and get to a homeostasis here. So when you're hot, it's dilating the blood vessels to try to get blood closer to the surface of your skin to shed some of that heat. That's why you sweat. That's why your skin turns red. So it's that exercising of the blood vessels is what keeps your heart healthy. And it's what keeps blood flowing through your system. Oxygen gets to your muscles and to your brain. So the health benefits are amazing, through the roof. There's studies that'll tell you all the facts about it, but you feel better after it. It's crazy to think that you feel better after putting yourself in stressful situations, but that metaphor for life carries on, and that's what's really ministering to people, whether they realize it or not, is getting uncomfortable, choosing to be uncomfortable, sitting with it, and accepting all those benefits.
No, absolutely. And that's the angle of the adventure that we try to and convey to all our customers. So we really like the experience of going out into and exposing yourself to dangerous situations and high risk, and gets your blood pumping and you really feel alive.
Yes.
I personally have done a little bit of cold plunging after I play soccer, or I do some exercises, and I get in the cold water and it hurts for a few minutes, and then your muscles kind of they contract, like you said, and they move around that acid that comes out of the muscle rupture, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you inspired by a specific situation? Or did you read about the Nordic traditions, or how did it come about to start this company?
So there's a lot of people out there that are marketing their sauna businesses. So there are some people that are Nordic by heritage, and they're using that as a marketing tool to help give them exposure for clients. But for me, I mean, I'm Swedish and a little Scottish, but for me, I don't really think that my heritage or lineage plays into the sauna culture per se. But I tell you what did attract me to the sauna lifestyle was the camaraderie and the brotherhood that I saw in the sauna environment when you are with other people and you're commiserating and you're sharing that experience with other people. That reminded me of what it feels like to have this brotherhood. When I was 17, I really got into motorcycles. Thank God my mom let my dad get into motorcycles, and he let me get a Harley. And so he and I were riding together, and we found a group of Harley riders, and we really latched onto that. And they were much older than me. So all through high school, I was kind of raised by these older biker guys. And now they have a lot of faults, sure. But the one thing that they did have going for them, which I really appreciated, was a sense of community and camaraderie and brotherhood. And that connection spoke to me louder than anything else. And I didn't realize it then, but in a lot of my jobs from high school through college and then, 20s and 30s, I was seeking human connection and seeking that in really cool opportunities, cool jobs, communities of people, but I was really seeking my place in the world. So I tell people I was like a speedboat without a rudder. Like I had all the motivation and the work ethic and the work hard, get it done, make it happen. But it didn't really hit home until the sauna idea found me, and I realized that I can use my skills as a craftsman, as a maker, and incorporate the community and brotherhood that I'm seeking, and I have a feeling that most of us are seeking this connection. So I can scratch my itch of wanting to make something really beautiful and functional and capable while holding space for people to connect with each other, the outdoors. And so for me, it was the perfect blend. So I finally felt like my hard work and drive had some intention, had some direction. So I've really been figuring out how the business and the community and I come together to offer value to people out there that are in alignment with our values as a company. So
that's a very interesting point. In modern life, you lose a lot of that connection, the small community. It's just so important to feel, that you can add something to a group, that you feel useful. What Japanese call the ikigai, right?
Yeah.
The intersection between
your purpose in life.
Exactly what your talent is,
that's
what your
awesome.
purpose, and what you can offer society, because you want to feel useful. And it's hard when you live in the city or you live in huge cities that there's a lot of disconnect.
Right.
So I definitely feel attracted to the idea of the saunas and having that connection with a group of people. So your company offers highly customizable designs. Can you share a story about the most unique or challenging sauna you've built to date?
Absolutely. Yeah, one sticks out in my mind for sure. So it was only 8 months or so into this founding of the company, and a client calls me, and they're from California, and they say, "Can you do an outdoor mobile sauna?" I said, "That's absolutely in our wheelhouse." They said that they had a vision of parking a structure near their creek in California, and they want to do a wood-fired hot tub and a wood-fired sauna. Now, I get a lot of these calls, and so I have to figure out if the client's expectations and our values as a company align. And they told me that the hot tub they wanted to use was going to come from Tub Marine over in the UK. I looked into this tub, and it was going to cost a lot of money to get this tub in. And so I quickly realized that the client's expectations for this project were in line with our luxury model. That's kind of how we wanted to grow this company, was finding that small demographic. But they trusted me a lot, and I still am a small company, but I had less exposure then. And so I was really curious what makes that client trust a guy like me who's new in the industry but has all these dreams and ambitions. And they just let me have full reign of the design and the layout. And what we made for them was spectacular. It was my biggest life's achievement that we just delivered. It was 6 months ago we just delivered this. So I'm almost now experiencing this like postpartum thing where it took us, because of COVID and all the infrastructure and getting things from out of the country and having custom trailers fabricated, it took us almost 2 years to get this project completed.
Wow.
So once I finally got it done and out the door, and I had it shrink wrapped and on a trailer, it was going to California, and I was behind it on a motorcycle following it out there and kind of really taking in the experience of, this is something that's taken me so much intention and energy and excitement, and it's now leaving my life. Like, I'm giving it to someone else, and I hope they take care of it and all those things. But so that project was pretty amazing. It was a 30-foot long trailer built on a hydraulic lowering ice fishing trailer.
Wow.
And the hot tub was on the back, and then there was a deck space, and we had an outdoor hot shower. And you'd step into a changing room, and then you'd step into the hot room, and there's tons of glass, and it's 8 feet by 8 feet. You can fit a bunch of people in there with a wood-fired stove.
Wow.
You hear the crackling and like all of the design and intention that goes into something like that. So it's pretty incredible. There's no manual for how to build these things. There's a couple of books out there that give you some really good tips, but I wanted to make this something my own, going above and beyond what the industry standard is, and really meeting those expectations of clients and exceeding those. It fulfills me. You know, you talk about feeling useful, and That's spot on. Like, two of my things are feeling fulfilled and feeling useful. So fulfilled is kind of scratching my itch. Like, what's my contribution to the world? And then how does that land with other people? Am I useful? Does that really land? How can we market this to the correct people who get maximum value for my dream and, my creation? So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's my what you brought is a good point. Well, how do you bridge the gap between entrepreneurship and artistry in your case?
Artistry, I think it all comes from creativity. I think being curious and being creative are my two superpowers. There's a lot of people that are curious and not creative. They just sit out there and wonder what could be, but they're not creating things to fulfill that gap or scratch that itch. There's people that are creative that aren't curious. They're just making stuff. They just create stuff. Maybe it already exists in the world and they're not innovating. But for us, being an entrepreneur, I didn't really understand what being an entrepreneur meant. All I knew is that I saw a void in the demographic where I lived, and I saw a need for it, although they didn't really know they needed it yet. But then I saw a way that I could use my unique skill set, bring the outdoor sauna industry to Montana and kind of lead the charge. So using my curiosity and creativity with the business world kind of scratches that itch. So it makes my creativity sustainable in my life. It means that I can be an entrepreneur, use my creativity, make that a business, figure out how to market this, how to make it sustainable and profitable, so I can actually be an artist and live.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It would be a shame to be a creative person, to have this burning desire to make something and then not know how to give it to people or monetize it and make it sustainable for life.
I always, when I give advice to young people that want to be in the film industry or in production industry, and they're worried about the monetary aspect and how tough the industry is, and I always tell them, when you're doing something that you love, the money will come later. You figure out what makes you tick, what makes you inspired, and what makes you get out of bed, and the money will follow you. Because if you start chasing the money runs away from you. It's kind of like contradiction in the system, right?
Yeah.
If you chase something, it's gonna run away from you, as opposed to build upon your talents and let that come to you.
Yeah. Hey, to that point, I heard to real quick, and I'm excited to share this little tidbit. Alan Watts says something to the effect of, if you go out and chase butterflies, you're going to have a really hard time catching butterflies. But if you spend your time creating the garden, the butterflies come to you. So that, I thought, was a really beautiful way to attract what you want as a byproduct of the value you're giving to the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Alan Watts. It's so entertaining, relaxing. I love the way he makes you go through all the possible questions that it may arise, and he delivers your answer in like a beautifully 5-minute decomposition of the world. I love that about Alan.
Yes. Yeah, he's great. He's not pretentious, but he's very thoughtful. Yeah.
Okay, apart from construction, you've had a little bit of a background in photography. Tell me a little bit more about your production background and if that's helped you in your business.
Yeah. So let's see. Photography started in college when my friends were taking a photography class and I wanted to fit in. And for everyone watching and listening, photography was a lot different back in the day before the digital world. So there was a time when we shot in film and I had to send rolls of film home from New Zealand, and I had 300 rolls of film I was sending home, and I divided them in evens and odds, put them in separate waterproof bags in separate boxes, and shipped them a week apart in case one of them got lost or destroyed, I would at least have either the odds or the evens, so I wouldn't lose like the first half of my trip or the second half of my trip. And all the excitement that you're feeling when you ship these undeveloped rolls of film home, and you can't wait to get home and see them developed, and you know that 80% of those are going in the trash, right? You know that when you shoot, you bracket for exposure and focus and all of that. And then you know that most of your experiences are going to be lost and forgotten, but it's those few. If you can capture 5 out of 100 that really speak to you, I think it's not just a photography thing, but that principle taught me a lot about life. Realized that the identity in photography wasn't really serving me, so I kind of shed that later on, and there's a lot of life lessons in that. But yeah, photography for me was a huge eye-opener to the world of creativity and business, and what kind of value am I bringing to people?
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Your approach to sending your rolls, because you need to construct a story, right? You don't want to miss any step of the way. So what you did was very interesting. You separated into the events. That means that you can still build a story with if one package got lost. So you divided, by dividing that, you can maximize the potential of constructing that story.
Yeah.
And that brings me to a good and very interesting point. The story aspect is really what drives us, right? So the story aspect plays a big role in building a brand, for example. I really like the idea of making a community or having a communal experience in a sauna and out in nature, and really building trust with your associates and your partners or your friends, your family.
Yes, absolutely.
Traditionally, we would have these ceremonies. You have them in all different tribes. They all go through a process of initiation,
right?
Aspect. What do you think is that step to becoming a man in this like modern culture?
It's huge. There's so much to this. I mean, you talk about story and the hardships, and we use metaphors to help with the story. So diamonds are made by pressure, right? The crucible refines impurities in gold so that the impurities come to the top, and you scrape those off and you're left with a more pure metal there. There's so many metaphors that could help people, that would give people permission to go try. Usually the best way to get started is just to get started and know that the first iteration probably won't be your best, more than likely. So what I needed was permission to adventure.
Yeah.
That's what I needed when I got started. Was someone said, well, what if you went to Alaska? What if you didn't get a career out of college? And then I thought, well, that wouldn't be so bad. I mean, so to realize that your story starts with discipline, really. And there's a great relationship between discipline and creativity on how you're able to be creative within the constraints of a system, and having the discipline to show up and do it. And feelings don't matter so much as doing the thing. You got to do the thing. And that thing will evolve. Give yourself permission to evolve as a person, as an artist, as a business person. There's going to be deficiencies. You can ask other people to fill in those deficiencies and have a community. But really, it's giving yourself some grace here. And I deal with this every day, giving yourself some grace to not hold yourself to such high expectations. This whole social media thing where we're given the highlight reels of people's accomplishments. We don't see the daily grit and just the discipline that it takes to perform, whether or not you feel like it or not. So if I could just inspire people to go create in their own way, that's the idea, is just to inspire. I don't want to motivate people. I don't want to push them. I want to kind of pull them and inspire them and be like, hey, here's what I'm doing and here's how this fulfills me and here are the things that I'm learning. So they see that it's not all a highlight reel. There's a lot of ups and downs, you know?
I think it's nowadays that you have the ability to project what you want out in the world, and then you start overthinking of like, what do I want people to see me, and how do I make this so that it looks casual, or that my point gets made without maybe having a production background or without maybe having some stories. And you hit the nail there. Just being constant and really get into the mundane things of your act of what you do.
The process is the shortcut. If we got into creating for the money, it's going to drive us nutty. We have to understand that creating that's it. Like creating is the goal. It's not the creation. I mean, it's like the process, the highs and lows, the 5 or 6 months of culling footage to create something amazing. Giving yourself space to create without the expectation of meeting that deadline or achieving those expectations, you know, like you can't really get your best work if you put so much expectation on it, you know? So you have to let go to really get to that point. And it's not easy for me. Like, I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying how in my life I've seen it work, and it's difficult, but giving yourself space to create is a challenge, but it's important.
Absolutely. And everybody that's been on the show, I feel like since I started this podcast, I've been able to connect very deeply with different entrepreneurs and their methods. And one thing really stands out for me, which is focusing on making the best product you can with what you have, and having patience. This combination is lethal, and being honest about your business and really putting one foot in front of the other and being patient is really what's going to pay off.
Yeah.
So I want you to, our time is up, but I would like for you to tell us where you can find Wandering Saunas and how they can connect with you and check out some of your work.
Absolutely. Well, the easiest way to find us would be Instagram or Facebook, but most of my stuff goes to Instagram first. We've got a website too if you need to do some more research, but it's wanderingsauna.com, WAND. And our slogan is sauna where you wanna. So we take the traditional idea of sauna and we kind of inject the modern techniques of really high-end building practices, and we can invite your friends and family to join you in this exercise that people have been doing for eons, but we're really starting to understand a little bit about what sauna, cold plunge, and community together can help with the human connection. And I think that's what we need now more than anything is human connection. So that's our little contribution to humanity, is creating space for human connection through sauna.
Amazing. Well, Barrett, thank you so much for being here at the Brandventures. We're very excited to have you and to show everybody about your saunas. And guys, please check out all the episodes that we've had in the past. You can go on YouTube, find the Brandventures, the same thing in Instagram, and connect with us and share your story with us so that we can share with the world. And thank you again. Have a good night. GP5 Production for Adventurous Brands.